The CoinDesk Spotlight is brought to you by Nexo, the place to earn on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and more.
Stablecoins are on the agenda of the Financial Stability Oversight Council, a U.S. regulatory group responsible for warding off dangers to the financial system. Fed Chair Jerome Powell also indicating a report on stablecoins is coming soon. And Bloomberg recently reporting a few details on what is backing Tether's USDT one-to-one with US dollars, the largest stablecoin by market cap with about $68 billion in circulation. Joining us now to discuss is Samson Mow, Chief Strategy Officer of Blockstream, CEO of Pixelmatic, and creator of Infinite Fleet. Hi there, Samson. So before we unpack all of that stablecoin news, we also want to get into Blockstream and their latest updates. So what is Blockstream's liquid sidechain capitalizing on? Or what are the latest updates, and are they capitalizing on the clogging of Ethereum as well as investor demand for alternative smart contract networks?
Yeah, hi Christine, great to be on. Liquid is right now really hot for security tokens. We recently did another tranche of our Blockstream mining node, which was sold out in about 2 minutes, and that was on the Stoker platform, our partner in Luxembourg. Infinite Fleet has a security token as well, the XO token, and also that is going to be doing some more capital raising in the future. But I think right now, in addition to speeding up Bitcoin transactions, Bitcoin settlements between exchanges, you can also do tokenization, stablecoins, like you said, and security tokens. And that's kind of what we're seeing as the big trend right now, security tokens on Liquid.
So, first of all, happy Thanksgiving, Samson. And second of all, do you feel that the side chains on Bitcoin have been relatively slow to adopt compared to, let's say, what's going on in Ethereum and other level ones, et cetera? Do you think that it's kind of been relatively slow for Bitcoin? And what can we do to expand that, to have it grow and adopted more by the general market?
Right, so I would say that the growth of Liquid is pretty steady. It's on par with Bitcoin adoption. So Liquid is just a few years old, actually, even though we started working on it a long time ago. It was only launched in 2018. And if you look at the transaction volume on Liquid to compare with Bitcoin, like after it was around for 2 years, it's roughly the same. So I think we're on a good trajectory. Now, the difference with Liquid is there is no ICO token. The native currency of Liquid is still Bitcoin, just pegged into the network. So we don't have these kind of weird incentive structures as with other blockchains where they mint their own token or they do an ICO and then they can take the ICO money and reinvest in the ecosystem. For us at Blockstream, we can't really pay people to support Liquid or to build things on Liquid. They have to decide to do it on their own. So our ecosystem is fully organically grown. So I would say it's in a very good place right now. And building on Bitcoin, building a sidechain that has confidential transactions and improved privacy are important for the base of a new financial system. So I think we're going in a direction, and we're not really distracted by a lot of the ICO mania or DeFi things that plague Ethereum.
Samson, just looking at the overall market, we've seen Bitcoin shoot up recently, especially compared to what was happening over the summer. Everybody sort of has a different explanation for what's going on. I'm curious what's your interpretation for what's been driving up Bitcoin's recent rise?
I think organic demand. We're seeing nation-state level adoption of Bitcoin now with El Salvador. The Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy and corporate Bitcoin buys, that brought us up to one level. But I think nation-state adoption, nation-state mining is going to take us to the next level.
Okay. Samson, we can still hear you, but your picture is frozen. So we'll just continue on. Hopefully, maybe it'll resolve itself. But I also wanted to get into this latest Bloomberg report saying that Tether has loaned about $1 billion to Celsius Network and billions more to other crypto companies using Bitcoin as collateral, and billions of dollars of short-term loans to large Chinese firms. What was your reaction when you heard about this report?
Well, I think that's a pretty bad piece of journalism. It's just trying to find some recycled FUD about Tether, because Tether FUD typically will generate clicks. But I mean, it's really just conjecture. Like, I don't know where they're getting the idea that Tether is lending to Chinese firms. They don't want to disclose their list of partners for commercial paper lending. But there's there's nothing on the internet that says they're lending to Chinese firms. It's just kind of this narrative that popped up. Maybe people saw me in Paulo, and because I'm Chinese, they think they're lending.
Samson?
All right.
Samson, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, you cut out. I'm sorry.
Yes, I hear you. Sorry.
Oh, it's all right. Yeah, but one of the claims they made was about, at least in the Bloomberg piece they made, was that they also lend to Celsius. So besides investing in equity, they're also doing lending. They're investors in Blockstream. Do you have a lending arrangement with Tether? Do you know of any other companies that do?
No, the Tether is, well, actually, Bitfinex is an investor in Blockstream, and it's just a straight equity investment, and there is no lending.
And in terms of their reserves, and you've been a big proponent of what they're doing. Do you have confidence that they have the assets that they claim they have, and that their attestations show? Do you have confidence that those are in fact held? Because one of the other accusations they made was that some of the assets were used to generate income for the company or for some of their chief officers. Do you think that that's what's going on, or do you have any insight into that?
Well, I have no reason to doubt that they're fully backed any more than any other stablecoin. Right now, all the stablecoins are just publishing attestations or assurance reports, but they're all about the same. So far, nobody has done an audit. So if you have no reason to doubt any of the other stablecoins, then I don't really see any reason to doubt USDT or Tether. And I think USDC also was generating interest through commercial paper lending for some time, unbeknownst to most people. And when that was revealed, they decided to backtrack and stop that. But I don't think it's a weird thing to lend some of your reserves to generate interest. Like, it's part of a business model.
One of the claims that made by we had Congressman Warren Davidson on, and his perspective is that stablecoins like Tether, because they do have that kind of setup where they are trying to generate income, that they should be viewed as securities. You don't agree. Do you think it should be regulated at all, or should it be regulated as some sort of, let's say, money as a money market fund or any other entity? Do you think it should just be left to the open and caveat emptor?
Well, I think pretty much all of the stablecoins right now, like the big ones, are regulated. So Paxos, USDP, they rebranded, I think, and Gemini, they're regulated by a trust company, by the NYDFS. And then USDT and USDC, they're both registered with FinCEN, whereas USDC is operating in the US, so they have money transmitters licenses, but USDT is not operating in the US, so they don't. So I think on the regulatory side, they're all about the same in terms of oversight. And there is no real stablecoin regulation at this time. I think people are looking towards the government to provide that clarity, but right now they all operate on roughly the same level.
What do you think it should? What do you think that should be? And again, registered versus regulated, they're kind of separate concepts. But how would you, if you were king of the world, how would you do? How would you regulate it? Would you regulate it at all? Do you think that it should just be entirely based on, market supply and demand, and let it go out to the open?
Well, if you think about it, Bitcoin is not really regulated either. Bitcoin is a software. I think the biggest thing here is that market confidence should speak volumes. There's been a lot of Tether FUD over the years, and Tether has always held its peg at $1. And there are markets on FTX where you can actually short Tether, basically like bet against it. And I think that market, if you bet against it, you lost a lot of money. So I would just say, regulation is okay, but the market confidence should speak more than that, because in light of all the attacks and ongoing FUD, they've just maintained their business, they've grown, and they're still the king of stablecoins.
We mentioned that Bloomberg report, and in it mentioned that the Bloomberg reporters saw a document showing that they had lent out billions of dollars in short-term loans to big Chinese corporates. Do you see that as problematic or just part of a valid business model?
I think it's a business model. It's short-term lending. That's what commercial paper is. It's very short-term loans, so they're always very liquid. They can get the money back if there are withdrawals to process those. And I think USDC was doing something similar too, and I don't see any problems arising from that. It's just how you want to operate the business and what you're doing to generate income.
Samson, the current environment in China right now with the lending market, given what's happening in the real estate market there, Tether has said they don't invest in Evergrande. We don't know whether or not they're investing in at least their short-term papers and other commercial paper that in related real estate developers or the like. Do you think that there are things that Tether's management can do to allay the fears and concerns or to dispel the FUD? For instance, more disclosures, more clarity, et cetera. Because it seems like they're very, let's just say, almost like purposefully trolling, if you will, the FUDsters by not doing the kind of clarity that would otherwise happen.
Yeah, well, I think an audit would be great. And so far, I'm not a journalist, so I'm just Googling here, but none of these stablecoins have produced an audit, a full audit.
None.
From
You're
very
correct.
start to end. Pardon me?
Right. There's no audit, but there are things that they can do and say, look, you know what? Okay, granted, let's say the USDC now under a lot of pressure changed their asset allocation, if you will. Paxos never really got into the sort of things that USDC did, but yet Tether continues with their commercial paper holdings. Is there anything that would allay the fear that Tether can do itself that would say, hey, you know what, here's kind of what's on our books. These are the kind of companies, they put out the gradings, they sort of, but is there some more clarity they can provide to let people, not an audit, they don't, it doesn't necessarily mean although they've promised one, but is there something they can provide that would get people to say, okay, you know what, we do have that confidence that this is FUD, let's just walk away, let's stop tweeting about how scary it is?
Well, I think one thing they could do is just say where their commercial papers are held. But the problem there is that now their partners are going to be attacked by the army of Tether truthers out there. So I think Deltek was their banking partner. When Deltek was revealed to be their banking partner, they came under a lot of fire from random internet trolls too. So I think they're just trying to protect their business partners. I don't speak for them. I can't really, it seems like everyone wants to know what commercial papers they're holding. And maybe the answer is to tell people, but I don't know if that makes sense in the business side. But there's this fixation with China. Like, they've said they didn't hold Evergrande, but people are still asking them, like, are you holding Chinese commercial paper? And I don't know, like, when the internet gets interested in next thing, and it's just like a whack-a-mole game. Like, if people are interested in this thing, you have to answer on this area. But I don't know if it's a sustainable model to kind of keep on entertaining people trying to dig into their business.
Samson, we got to go, but I just have one quick last question. I know that you are an investor in INX, which did its STO on Ethereum, and you're big on Bitcoin, but I was wondering, maybe you could explain your thought process there.
Yeah, so when I invested in INX, that was 2018, and Liquid had not yet launched. So that's the answer. And they were already engaging with the SEC to do their IPO on Ethereum because Ethereum existed at that time. But you can rest assured that INX will be coming to Liquid because I'm an investor in INX.